Is there supposed to be?
Hey.
Hey guys! Thought there was supposed to be music with it, but okay.
We'll figure it out for next week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Thank you, honeys and hunks, for understanding that I don't know how to do things. I'm not good at my hobbies, but that doesn't matter because we got a new episode this week, but we got some new content, but we're gonna go with the same old attitude we got. Shay, how's your basketball life been this week?
I'm not gonna lie, I have not been paying as much attention as I should be. Mostly because I don't actually know why. I don't even know what happened in the last week. I'm like, what's been going on? I don't know.
The Nets look like they might actually be a basketball team in the last week, is what has happened.
I think that might be luck, but sure, maybe.
No, it was a little bit hard to find stuff, even when I was like, I don't have too much of a.
No, it's kind of been the first week since Taylor and I originally started this back in January of 2019. Can you believe that? That it's been like just a week where all that happened was people played basketball. Like that never happened.
No, yeah, it's just like, did everyone hoop? Perfect. Everyone hooped this week. Everyone's all happy and good. That's all that matters. But so nothing so much happened on your end. But Shay, how about you? How are you doing with your basketball? How's this week for you?
I'm assuming you meant Jade and go ahead with that.
Yeah, that's sorry. I was looking at one last note. I had for it.
It's actually kind of funny that although Shay and my name don't actually sound the same, they kind of do.
It's that A noise.
It's that A noise for sure.
Yeah.
So the Raptors are healthy as of yesterday. We got Pascal Siakam back. Gary Trent Jr. is back. Scotty Barnes is back. So and we played better this week than I thought we were going to. So I'm pretty pumped to not be nobody's available. We were injured 7 deep last week and early, late, all the way up until last night. So yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Was it a combination of injuries or just injuries, or it also have a combination of some people were sick and they're under a protocol?
None of it was all non-COVID illness, but there was a bug that went through the team as well. Fred VanVleet got it first, Gary Trent had it after, and a couple of the other guys had it.
Wolves had that early on in the season too. First it was Rudy, and then it was just a chain effect. So there's a bug going around. But okay, well, happy for me at least, I'm more of a disappointed parent. I still love them. But they can hurt me.
That's the risk you take when you are a real sports fan.
They can hurt me real bad. This getting rougher and rougher news with my team. Anywho, well, so this week, just going on into it, we're going to be talking about the Western Conference as a whole, since no one seems to take that number one spot right now. We're going to also hit up the tragic story that has been LaMelo's ankle issues this year. And then we're going to sign off chatting about the Celtics' recent dominance in the league, going 9-1 the last 10. And then also we're going to continue doing that fantasy minute and the NBA Twitter for laughs and fun. So going on with that, Jade, are all the teams this evenly good right now?
Yeah, I think they are. I've made it a point to really try and watch different teams. Obviously, you see everybody play against your own team through the course of the year. But I've made it a point. I've got the big sports package. And I made a point to kind of see who's playing that I don't get to see as often, who's playing that I don't get to see play against each other. So I watched Cleveland and Atlanta this week. I watched part of the Jazz, and I can't remember which game that was, but there are a lot of teams, small market teams especially, that have really talented pieces that are playing squad basketball, which is my favorite kind of basketball. It's one of the reasons it's so easy to be a Raptors fan. Because it's not about an individual. It's not about a KD or a Kyrie Irving or a Kawhi Leonard or, whoever that big name is. It's about a team that can come together and have 3 or 4 different guys score 20 points in a night. And more of the smaller market teams, I think, are figuring that out, that if you can be just a little bit deeper across the board, you don't necessarily need, a big three to win basketball games. And I think that's why we're seeing such a bunch up in the standings right now.
That's how you have to do it if you're a small market team. Is
You
you're just
have
like,
to.
okay, I'm not going to get that small team. We're going to take then all the best role players that are on the list of free agents, and then the rest of the league can figure out their own stuff and figure out how they can have a bench. You could be like Brooklyn and have the average age for their bench be 78. Average age is 78, or it's their 28. So I mean, there's no real threat. But since it is so tight, Shay, is the conference becoming weaker or just a stronger altogether?
I don't know. I mean, I think right now, the biggest difference is what we've seen in conference play over really since the bubble. The bubble, I think, created it was kind of like the downfall of one conference really being as dominant over the other in a way, because we also are moving further and further away from the super teams. We're not seeing that anymore because we have a new generation coming up of younger players that are not really in the same way as, say, the impact of LeBron and Kyrie were at the Cavs. Not saying that this new generation isn't as capable. I just think that their play is a little bit more different.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're starting to see it kind of start to fall apart even at Golden State, a super team that has proved its worth together, because it's not just 2 of them. It's like usually 3 or 4 of them, and they're unstoppable. But we're starting to see that break down, and we're starting to see almost like a more even playing field happening as the super teams are starting to not be as prevalent. And honestly, this is what I prefer. I prefer for it to be a little bit more scrappy, a little bit more where a team that could be the last ranked in a conference come in and beat number 1 in the conference. And we've seen that in the last couple of years in a way that we weren't really seeing with the super teams. The super teams were dominating in a way that was almost unfun to watch as someone who prefers underdog teams. So I don't know. I think we're just moving into a new era. And honestly, I'm so excited for it. I mean, I wish there was a little bit more defense. I think we are getting a little bit more compared to that super team play. But, I love good defense. I love good, scrappy, almost like bad aggressive defense. But I don't know if we'll ever see that return to the league. So I think
League won't allow that.
Is much better.
And if you try to play that physical, the way that how athletic players are now, man, injuries. Take Zach LaVine taking a hit while he's that high up from like a Bill Laimbeer. Kid be out for 3 years.
Well, I mean, we obviously can't go back to bad boys, but like, I think there is room to give defense more of a shot. And I think the league at some point is going to have to move in that direction, because anytime anything gets too one-sided, it gets boring. Shay talked about it with the super teams. It was boring. When it's all scoring all the time, eventually it gets a little boring, but it's a hard thing, because at the same time, we also have a whole younger generation of adult basketball fans. That really makes me feel old. But there's a younger generation of adult basketball fans who grew up on Steph Curry and offense only. So it's going to be a balance between trying to retain that group of fans, but keeping the sport competitive. And you really see it. I really noticed it when people talk about Klay Thompson. I've been in a lot of discussions the past couple of weeks about like Klay Thompson compared to Dame Lillard. And I'm just like, I want Klay Thompson on my squad over Damian Lillard all day, every day. Dame doesn't play defense. It's half the game. It's half the
game.
Defense is half the game. So how are you going to tell me that Damian Lillard is a better basketball player than Klay Thompson.
No, straight up. No, you are right. Just that's like I said, hot take. There's not going to be too many people that are going to be thinking that because
No, but
Dame's on that 75th team, which he
but
shouldn't be.
You wouldn't believe how many people on the internet roast me when I'm like, no, Dame's a better. They're like, Dame's a better player. Klay's not even close. I'm like, what?
It's also one of those things like, okay, I never said that necessarily. Who's the better team player?
Yeah.
I mean, Dame.
Is
Dame has the
Dame
ball
a better scorer? I think Dame's a better scorer. Okay, but scoring is half, 50%, 50% of the time does your team have the ball. The other half you got to play on the other side of the ball. So, like, if you're going to talk to me about a full basketball player, that's what we're talking about. And I don't know how I ended up off on that tangent, but
hey, no disrespect to Dame Lillard. Dame
none whatsoever.
No disrespect.
But like,
no
if we're
disrespect
playing,
to him.
If we're playing pickup and I get to pick between Klay Thompson and Damian Lillard,
oh my God, yeah,
a no-brainer. Like, I don't even have to think about it.
We doing a one-on-one matchup, or are we doing like
I'd still take him one-on-one because I think Klay's defense is good enough to give Dame some trouble. Dame's still gonna get his, but at least it's gonna be hard for him. It's not going to be as hard for Klay. Klay can just pull up.
Maybe you know what? Maybe this is a playoff.
That would be
playoff
fun.
Series, like because like we've been talking, it's so close right now. This could easily happen, easily, and that's actually leads into my next thing. Jade, is this tight race? Is there going to see a tight race for the rest of the season like this? Because this is a quarter of we're 20 games in. This is a quarter of the season now, so. This is where teams kind of figure some things out.
So I was looking at the standings on both conferences yesterday, preparing for the show, and it's tight in the Eastern Conference as well. I think between now and the All-Star break, if anybody's going to start to make some space in terms of being at the top of both the Eastern and Western conferences, it's going to be between now and the All-Star break. Yeah, if there isn't a little bit of separation between now and then, I think it's going to be really, really close, fighting for positioning right to like the last game of the season for some of these seeding spots.
I mean, even look at Utah. I just saw a stat yesterday where they went from first seed to now 9th seed within 7 days.
7 days, which means it can go the other way too.
They could have that streak again. They could go on a 4-game win streak.
Yeah.
And that puts them up. Like the Timberwolves, they had a 5-game win streak. We went from 11th to like 7th. And since it's so tight, it only put us 2 games out of, I think, the 2nd seed.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. Like, I don't think I can ever remember a point where at this season it was still quite this tight.
Yeah.
I'm pushing for Sacramento.
Me too.
Shay, do you see this tight race too, or do you think soon enough there's going to be a little bit more of a separation between top teams and lower seed teams?
I mean, I am always skeptical of anything pre-All-Star break because I really feel like the All-Star break is where we'll start seeing some breakdown. And I might sneeze. Hold on.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible podcast. Sneezing, jeez, Louise.
I'm getting over a little cold. But yeah, so like anything, I mean, and I would even say like, if you're like, that's too long, okay, pre-Christmas games. I mean, you have to remember last year I was at the Lakers game. I was at the Lakers Nets game when Harden was still part of the team. Like, so much can happen post-Christmas, you know?
I was going to say, that feels like 3 years ago.
It feels so long ago. And also...
That was a pre-COVID team. And COVID wasn't even a thing.
And actually, I definitely 100% got COVID at that game. I 100% got it. I was masked up, quarantined beforehand, wore an N95 mask, only took it off to eat a hot dog.
That hot dog, that's what gets you.
3 days later, I had Omicron. And I was sweating profusely for like 48 hours. It was like the worst thing of my life. So Lakers,
she was actually just sitting in a sauna.
Yeah, I was actually in a sauna, but so Lakers, I blame you for the reason I got COVID.
Hashtag blame the Lakers.
Well, and
Hashtag-
that's why they lost. Actually, they were like, "Oh snap, that's why they lost last night." They're like, we gave Shea COVID. We
Yep.
don't deserve to win this night, you guys. We don't deserve to win it.
Yep.
This specific reason, the one thing, just like we were talking before the recording, just the one thing,
Just the one thing.
just the only thing.
Just the one thing. So yeah. Anyway, I'm skeptical. Like, you know, I kind of see definitely the pre-Christmas, maybe even to the All-Star break. We're still in preseason. Are you kidding me? We're still in preseason. This is
Well,
just
that's a bit much.
okay. Well,
Talk for
kinda like-
yourself.
you know, we're it's like pre-production when we're working on a television, you know, television show. It's like you're in pre-production, you're planning for the big part, but anything can happen. And even after you start to film, there's going to be a lot of stuff you got to improvise on. So that's the way I see up till Christmas. Maybe the All-Star break. So anything can happen.
I don't know about your guys' teams, but my team seems like a pilot series that's about to start, and everyone's like, "Ooh, did we need to make this series?" I think we wasted a lot of money on this budget. But
yeah, we keep having some of our main stars leave or have controversies. So, you know,
yeah.
I get it. I get it. The press around us is not great.
All right. Well, I think we got a good look at the West. So now it is now for the Fantasy Minute.
Man, the injuries, and we talked about this last week too. There's just so many injuries. Fantasy basketball is a rough go this season. If you are playing fantasy, you have to manage the crap out of your team, because like every single day somebody else is on IL or out or game time decision, or are they going to play? Aren't they going to play? What's going to happen? So if you are also managing fantasy teams, I feel for you. You really got to be on it. I don't have any super like good insights this week because I was just trying to get through my week. I lost both my teams, both my weeks this week. Not too badly. I played against Sarah. So me and my partner are in a league together. It was my week to play against her this week. And I started out the week just getting demolished like 1-10. And I made a comeback and I was ahead for a little bit. And I only ended up losing like 4-5. So I will take that on a week when half my team was injured.
Who was Sarah's like top dog for the week? Did she have anything?
Well, Sarah's got Embiid. I know Embiid had some big games last week.
He did.
Yeah. I think that if I had to pick one, I would say that was probably
that makes sense.
The person
he went off last week.
Yeah.
I will.
And then, so now we'll go over our teams for the week. I'll start this week just because I'm happy that I ended up the Raptors did better than I thought they were going to do. I thought they would win 1 and lose 2. They won 2 and lost 1. So I'm going to take it. They lost to the Nets on Wednesday. So the day after the show last week. That's the game I thought they were going to win. And they beat both the Mavs and the Cavs on Saturday and Monday.
Convincing stuff right there.
Right. So like I was and injured. I can't stress that enough, especially against the Mavs. Like Pascal didn't play. Scotty Barnes didn't play. Precious Achiuwa's out. Hernan Gomez. Juancho Hernan Gomez has been so good for us.
Ever since he did that movie, he's been killing.
I haven't watched it yet, but somebody really recommended it to me, so it's on my list this week.
He's been on the Wolves. He's been on Utah.
We got him from Denver.
Yeah. He's been in Memphis.
Movie?
Hustle.
He's one with Adam Sandler.
It's called Hustle.
I haven't watched that yet.
I haven't yet either. I'm planning on. One of my friends was like, "You have to watch this movie. It's so good. You're gonna love it. All these people are in it." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I looked into it. And I'm like, and I don't love Adam Sandler generally. I don't really dig his comedy movies. They're kind of like boy humor to me. But this is a dramatic role, and he's a really good dramatic actor too that I've found. So like I'm looking forward to watching it. But yeah, he's in that movie. Everybody's in that movie.
There's so many NBA players in that movie. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I love it.
So I'm really excited to watch that. But like, yeah, Hernan Gomez has been amazing. And like
Even started from the FIBA championship because he was going off with Spain.
Yeah. And it was so funny. So my friend was like, didn't know who he was. He's a casual basketball fan. We talk basketball because I'm into it, but he's more into hockey. And so we were watching a game last week and he's like, who's that white guy? And I'm like, I think he's Spanish. Like,
he's a Spaniard, please.
I don't think he's like, white. But anyways.
Difference.
So yeah, that's gone well. So this week we've got the Nets tomorrow again. Okay. So I'd like to take this moment to just make a little side note about how ridiculously bad the NBA schedule is this year, kind of like across the board. The Nets and the Raptors are division teams. Wednesday is our last game against the Nets for the whole season. Like,
what?
How? We've 4 times. We've played you guys 4 times as of tomorrow.
I feel like season. With divisional teams, I think it should be a game in every quarter of the season.
Yes, it should be stretched out over the season. You shouldn't play your divisional teams and have a chance that your same players are going to be injured for all of the games because you played them all 8 weeks apart.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's just one of the things. Like, I know they've made a big attempt to cut down on the travel time, which is great.
They have. But, I will notice that for the Timberwolves. Yes. They have done that real well for us.
I read an article about it. They've cut out altogether 57,000 miles of travel league-wide, which is amazing. It's amazing. But the schedule still needs to make sense.
Yep. Yeah. The only thing that makes sense is, if you're playing one Texas team, you're playing at least another one. Or if you're playing Lakers, you play the Clippers the next night. Those are the only things that really make sense that I've noticed. A lot of the other stuff, it's like, what
are we doing? So that is annoying to me that we're in the same division and our last game against the Nets is this week. It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, so tomorrow's the Raptors have the Pelicans. And the Pelicans I got to watch play this week. They look really good. Have you guys seen them?
Dude, I have been.
I saw some of the stats.
Dude,
they look like a real basketball team this year. Like,
if Lakers continue bombing this year, granted, they've been stepping up. I think they're 5-1, 5-2 in the past few games.
Yeah.
But if they still keep that lower seed, and if things go right for the Pels, they could get that number 1 overall pick if the Lakers bomb down. They could get Victor.
Can you imagine?
Zion,
the Pelicans
Brandon
would
Ingram,
be a powerhouse next year.
CJ McCollum, Alvarado. I love that kid. I love that guy.
If you're not paying attention to the Pelicans right now,
you have to.
You should start.
You should.
You have to.
You should start because even if they don't get Wembanyama next year, they're a good basketball team, and they are playing like a good basketball team. Yeah. So pay attention to the Pelicans. So I'm really torn on this one. We're at Pelicans too, and I really want to say, the Raptors are back. They're healthy. Pascal Siakam had an amazing first day back last night, but we can't win everything. And the rest of our week is the Nets, and we're going to win against the Magic. I'm going to say we're going to win against the Nets. I think we're going to lose against the Pelicans and lose against the Celtics. So I've got our week being 500 this week for the Raptors.
Who on your team, I shouldn't say who on your team matches up with Jonas Valanciunas?
Nobody.
Okay, because that's something
not nobody has the size. We have the height in a bunch of different players, but Jonas Valanciunas is he's a brick house.
Is he one of those players that when he comes in, it's like, wow, you are destroying us right now, and we're not able to do anything.
I don't see how anybody's going to stop him in the post. We have 3-point shooting blockers. Koloko can block, Boucher can block. We have a couple of long guys that can block jump shots, but to try and take JV in the post is going to be a nightmare for us.
That post game is considered dead, but the players that still have
still do it, yeah.
The
And it should never
footwork.
be considered dead, because if nobody knows how to guard it, why wouldn't you want to use it?
Vucevic, before he went to the
Vuce,
Bulls, when he was in,
JV, Steven Adams still has a post game. Like those OG, like pure centers are still
there's still a
they're
few
still
left.
relevant. Yeah, and there's still a few of them kicking around. So we are going to jump to Taylor now for the Timberwolves week. So last week you had, I have to expand my thingy here. What was
I think we did one
Wednesday. So yeah, so Pacers. You
pulled that
said
off somehow.
you said you'd lose to the Pacers, but you won. So good for that. You won convincingly too, 115 to 101.
Yeah, we blew a lead.
You lost to the Hornets by 2.
We blew a lead.
You lost to the Warriors by a lot.
Never had a lead there. We never had a lead there.
And you lost to the Wizards by a lot. So what is going on? What was the story last week in Minnesota?
We just don't have, like, this is similar to when we had gotten Jimmy Butler, where it was like, we're just going to put a bunch of real good players together and we're going to have them play.
Yeah.
And that should work, right?
Right.
No,
No.
not at all. And Chris Finch, like, I do like him as a coach, but when it comes to crunch time stuff, I got some questions for him.
So he's not making good decisions down the stretch.
Yeah, like there are times where it's like, let the hot hand go. You don't need to put this other player in yet. Let the hot hand go. Okay, you switched out. Okay, this guy that you just switched out hasn't played for 8 minutes, 9 minutes now, which is a lot in basketball, especially. So I'm like, either do the move earlier or don't do it at all. Like that was the thing. And now with Cat hurting himself, being out from 4 to 6 weeks.
I mean, I wasn't watching that game, but I was paying attention to the notifications last night, and it could have been a lot worse because, like, I saw the tweet come up that said no contact injury with Cat. I was like, oh crap!
I saw the turn he did and the push off, and I was like, oh no, no, it's not good. But you know what? I'll take that is one thing I'll take. It is a calf strain, so instead of, like we were saying before,
nothing's
being
torn,
out for 2 seasons, he's out for a month and a half.
All right, so this week the Timberwolves. Tomorrow you have you're at Grizzlies, or no, you're home versus the Grizzlies. You're home versus OKC, and you guys have a short week. You've only got 2 games this week.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna go 1. We're gonna go 1-1. We're gonna go 1-1 this week.
So who are you gonna beat?
We're gonna beat OKC.
OKC. I was gonna say that.
If we can rebound the ball, that is what. If we can rebound the damn ball,
yeah.
Like Rudy Gobert is second in the league with rebounds per game, so he is doing what he's supposed to. But everybody else on the team's just like,
yeah. So when we were talking in our WhatsApp chat last night, I had asked you what I seem to see of the Timberwolves so far this year is they don't have an identity as a team.
Nope.
Like they don't have a calling card. They don't certain teams, like the Raptors is defense. Miami has a culture of being really hard, playing hard. When you got Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry out there. The Warriors are, that really clean shooting, happy, yes,
enjoying the game,
right? So like the teams that have the Celtics, over the past couple seasons have really developed an identity of how they play basketball, and it seems like the Timberwolves have all this talent, but they don't have that identity yet. And one of the things I asked Taylor last night was like, do your guys like spend time together just hanging out, like team functions that are not mandatory? And you
never give you a full answer.
Yeah. So I know for the Raptors, we know that they do that stuff. Like, one of them is involved in some charity thing that they're putting on. The whole team shows up to support them. And I think that if the Timberwolves maybe started doing some of that kind of stuff, it would help them, because it doesn't seem like they're not getting along as individuals per se. It just seems like as a team they haven't gelled.
No, they have not. Ant is, since being younger, he's having a little bit. He's already trying to build his game up what was already, but now he has to change his game up even more now because you have Gobert there. And he even has mentioned his frustrations this year where he's just like, I can't dunk the ball as much. But then how I'm looking at it as, then you just got to practice finishing at the rim. You're one of the highest jumpers in the league. You should be able to do some little funky stuff in the air to get around.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, he's got to stop doing Ant's got to stop. I got the ball, dribble between my legs, dribble between my legs.
Yeah.
Dribble between my legs. Shot!
He's showing his age.
Yes, there are times where it's just like, okay, this is this is your next thing. Shot selection, a post game, and just IQ on the court. Those are my things for him to his first step to getting to the next level. Get one of those three going for sure, and the rest will fall in.
All right, so hopefully that comes together. We know that there's the Timberwolves are still a bit in flux from being sold and new management and all that kind of stuff. It takes a beat to get that together. So hopefully, in the meantime, Taylor's head does not explode.
So I got the Vikings.
That's true. You've got
Skull
something
Vikes.
in the sports
Skull
world.
Vikes.
Right,
Justin Jefferson should be MVP this year. Anywho.
All right, so moving on to Shea and the Nets. So last week, Shea said, let me consult my notes here. Oh, yes. Shea said the Nets were going to lose everything all week because
they lost 2, so I was kind of okay.
But you won 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, and just so that everybody knows, around the halftime break, I'm going to put together all of our picks from so far this season and see where our personal numbers are in terms of what we think our team's going to do. So we'll have a little bit of a running competition going within the show.
I see the Wolves going 500 from you. We're going to have great wins against good teams and defeating losses against the worst teams in the league.
That's how it goes sometimes when teams don't know who they are, right?
Halfway through the season, I'm going to be like, that makes sense. All
right, so this week, Shea, you have tomorrow at 7:30. The Wizards are visiting.
Yeah.
Careful.
On Friday. I know that's a hard one.
Because it
Kuz
feels
has
like
been killing it this year.
Win, but no.
And I mean, if Kristaps continues on the role that he had from his game last night, Kristaps Porzingis is one of the few guys that I think has the length, if not the mobility, but he can at least make it harder for Kevin Durant. And there aren't many players in the league with enough length, even though Kristaps I don't think has the footwork on defense.
He doesn't have the footwork,
but at least he's got something that other guys don't have.
7'3" can kind of make up for being a little bit slower on your feet.
Right, exactly. So, do you want to take the Wizards or the Nets tomorrow?
I'm going to say Nets.
All right, we'll take the Nets. And then you've got me of my Raptors on Friday.
Just Jade.
Just
Jade. Just Jade. She's taking it in the post and let's show what she's got.
No, I'm a shooter, man. My post game was terrible.
That's all I was post.
I have no basketball skills, so you would beat me for sure. I'm going to say a win. I'm sorry.
That's right.
You're apologizing for saying you win?
You don't have to apologize. It'll just be
I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to win.
Okay. And then on Sunday, you've got the Celtics.
I'm going to say we're losing that one.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I think pretty much I think all three of us could. Jade, you could at least say we got a chance.
Yeah.
But I think all of us are going to be still like, we might have to look at game tape after.
I mean, so collectively as a podcast this week, we've predicted 5 losses and 4 wins. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, oof.
Yeah, it's rough when you put it in numbers like that. Eh?
Oh, we got real great confidence in ourselves, our teams this week. Okay. Well, that fantasy minute turned into a whole 20 minutes. Gotta love that. That's where you get the real fun with it all. But now so we got LaMelo. We know he's got them fancy moves and everything. He's been busting ankles, but sadly, it's been his own ankles. So it's been sprains instead of like breaks and everything like that. Stuff that continues on for an extended amount of time. Shay, if you are the Hornets right now and you see your cornerstone going through a bunch of nagging sprains, is this going to make you slightly worry for at least the rest of the season?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because the fact that it's a sprain, it might sound simple, but when you're at that capacity, something like a sprain not healing correctly adds to the possibility of further injury later. And that's not good. So you have to rest that. You have to be, no. And it's not like the Hornets like are thriving without him. So
the Hornets can't thrive without him.
Exactly. So it's like, I would be worried. I would be very worried.
So I have a little bit of a rant about this.
Yeah, that's why we brought this up, because I know that Jade's got a thing or two to say. She's cracking knuckles. She's pulling out the earrings right now.
My frustration with this is how he got re-injured.
Right.
No other professional athletes that play team sports have to worry about tripping on fans. Why do basketball players have to worry about tripping on fans, tripping on cameramen at the baseline? It makes me so upset that this is like, they can't just go out and play and not have to worry about a fan's feet on the sideline. Give them a couple more feet. Fine.
I was just about to say, give them like 3-4 feet.
They need the room. These are big guys moving at top speed, doing their best to play the game, to hustle, to get balls, whatever it is. It should not be a hazard that fans' feet are going to injure a guy for weeks at a time. And there's precedent for changing things in the NBA. When, who was it that they changed the rules about defending a shooter and being in their landing spot after that injury to Kawhi in
Zaza
Pachulia. And now that rule's named after him.
Yeah, the Zaza rule.
The Zaza rule. So, that shouldn't be a thing. If you're going to control it in game, control it on the sidelines. And as much as basketball does a better job than the other big sports in treating players like people, better than hockey and football and whatever, I just like to remind us that until the pandemic forced us into social distancing, we had these 6'6", 6'7", 6'9", 7-foot guys sitting in normal sized chairs on the sideline, right? There is a hilarious picture of Bol in his first season with the Celtics.
Taco Fall?
Sorry, you're right. Yes, Taco Fall. Thank you. All scrunched up into a normal size folding chair beside all of his teammates. And it's a really funny picture because it illustrates just how incredibly tall he was. But it took a pandemic for us to give these guys appropriately sized chairs to sit in on the sideline. We need to do a little bit better than this. And the fact that players have to worry about tripping over spectators, to me, is totally unacceptable. And I do not understand why it's still allowed to happen. My other note on LaMelo is he needs to find whatever doctor Steph Curry saw back in the day.
Hey, Steph Curry, that's why so many teams passed up on him. His ankle injuries.
Steph Curry is not Steph Curry without that part of it getting figured out. And it did. He was rolling his ankles all the time. Actually, on my Twitter, I mentioned it on Twitter, and somebody replied to me with the actual name of the doctor. They knew who it was. But if you are the Hornets organization and you're LaMelo Ball, I'm definitely trying to get a hold of that guy.
Jordan took it personally.
Of course he did.
He took it personally. He's like, "Oh,
Speaking of Jordan, I didn't read the article, but I saw a headline this week that said that he bullied. They didn't use the word bullied. I'm going to use the appropriate word. The headline used the word trash talked. The appropriate word is bullied a teammate into retirement.
Oh yeah, he's so trash. I hate
He's
that
such a
so.
horrible human
He's
being.
such trash. Oh, like he punches out Steve Kerr. He gets a guy to retire because he's just
Right.
like, what?
Yeah.
This.
So maybe the Hornets' actual problem is Michael Jordan karma. If you
Yeah.
believe in that kind of thing.
I mean, even if you don't, I mean, you could just say is Michael Jordan, and we could probably leave it just at that. Maybe
Yeah,
he's
I
like
think that's fair.
maybe he's Glenn Taylor. He just doesn't know what to do with the team. He just has money, and he's like, "Let's do it." And they're like, "Well, don't you stay out. You own the team. Go away." But all right, so Hornets in the last 10 games have been 3-7. Jade, with LaMelo being gone, is it affecting them that much, or are they just that rough still to begin with, even with LaMelo?
I think it's a combination of things. I think LaMelo is the kind of player that is going to go under the radar longer than he should because he plays for Charlotte. If he was somebody that played in Miami or New York or anywhere in California.
Sacramento?
Well, this year.
Yeah,
this
true.
Year, of late, Sacramento of late, yes. But
I'm
no, that was
Kings
that was a
bandwagon.
good point. That was a good point. I mean, who doesn't have a soft spot for the Kings after they should have had a final in the 2000s? How can you not have a soft spot for the Kings?
Best team to never win one.
Best team never
Best
win.
team.
Man, that's still one of the documentaries that pisses me off the most in life is that documentary
48
about
free
that
throws in
series.
one game for one
madness.
team?
Madness. But anyways, yeah, LaMelo is, as the Charlotte Hornets are currently built, they will not have success without him. They're not going to get a long way because they need, obviously, to build, but just in terms of like a 500 season.
Right.
You know, they need him back. They need him healthy, and they need to build pieces. But like, it's frustrating for me that it wasn't an injury sustained during play, and that it was a sideline injury. Like, it really bothers me that that's the reason that, like, he was only back for 1 or 2 games.
Mm-hmm. And then he re-aggravated it.
Like, and I don't understand how the people that own basketball teams are not more, I don't know. I guess the floor seats. I guess the floor seats are just worth that much. I don't know. I don't get it. It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Even if it's like just 3 feet pushed back, maybe you have the scorer's table the first, and then the next thing is the chairs behind it. So there's like an extra 2, 3, 4 feet right there.
Exactly.
I still think you're going to get the same experience as like courtside if you are right there.
I think so too. That amount of distance when you are courtside is nothing.
No, yeah. Honestly, I don't want to be that close to the court.
I also think about all the time, like, what if you have to go to the bathroom?
Yep. You have to get up and walk in front of everybody.
You know what? Tackle the ref. Tackle the ref. Don't avoid the players.
You easily
go for Scotty Foster. Go for Scotty Foster. He needs to get knocked down a peg or two.
True that.
Go down like that. But so I will admit that also Gordon Hayward is out too. Not the biggest thing, but it's still a key piece for that squad.
Well, man, Gordon Hayward has been out more the last 3 years than he's been in,
which really bums me out. Okay, in that, I mean, for a year and a half, he had one of the most gruesome injuries of NBA history.
For sure.
I remember watching that game. That made me so sick. I had to change basketball.
Yep.
I couldn't watch that night. But Shay, even with everyone back and healthy, Charlotte, anything really?
No, because like you said, you said Gordon's name, and I literally forgot he existed.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's just like that's how the Hornets are to me. It's like if they were in a bigger city or even a more relevant state, then they would have the same talk around them the way that the Knicks do with how bad they are because they are so badly managed.
Is that kind of though like a blessing in disguise that they can be?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to like. Yes, they can be this rough of a team, but not have to worry about the extreme pressure that is of, say, New York or Los Angeles and stuff, where you're being seen all the time. Also,
Exactly. That's
North
why
Carolina.
some small market teams, I mean, even think about Sacramento. Sacramento gets completely overshadowed by the fact that not only do they have two really relevant teams that kind of like are around them and take any kind of pressure away from Sacramento, but they're in a region where you also have people who are Suns fans, maybe Denver fans, like that whole region is so stacked just in the geographical location. You go up higher, you have Portland. Oh my god, I almost said Seattle. Oops.
Within 3 years,
future plans, yeah.
3 years, the
I know.
Supersonics will be back, and Vegas, they're gonna have the Vegas Dice.
Vegas. I don't know. I might be
That's
a
the team. It's the
bandwagoner.
Dice.
Vegas
It's the
fans.
Vegas
I
Dice.
love Vegas.
That's a terrible name for an NBA team. I really
Vegas
hope that's
Dice.
not what it is.
Hey, the women's team is the Aces, so I mean,
the
like
Aces and the Dice.
the Aces and the
could've
Dice,
been-
and they can't do the Kings because that's taken. So that's about what's left, isn't it?
What,
or you could
Spain?
just name it Celine Dion. She's still
Spades.
performing there.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Celine Dions.
So okay, so here's a question, you guys, in terms of when these two expansions happen. I don't think this is an if, this is a when.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to rearrange the conferences? Because I have an idea about what's going to happen.
That's very, very true.
I think they just move the Grizz into the Eastern Conference because that's where they are geographically anyways.
I also think the Timberwolves, because like our closest division or our closest division rival is OKC.
Right.
But
But
then we have Portland and Utah. But then we have Milwaukee, Detroit, Toronto, Chicago, all within a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
So I think the Grizz and us would go to the Eastern Conference, since Supersonics and, say, Las Vegas, they'd take those two spots in the West. So I think
that's how it'll go too.
I think they're going to be moving those teams to the East because that only makes sense. That's the only thing that makes sense. I don't get how they even set up these divisions. I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like Minnesota, now that I'm thinking about it geographically too, like you kind of are in the middle of, even though you're closer to, like you said, Detroit and Toronto and all that stuff, you are still kind of pretty isolated geographically from other teams compared to other divisions, right? Like the Atlantic division that the Raptors are in, those teams you can get to from any of those cities to another in an hour. If you're flying, a couple hours if you're driving.
I could get close. I could get to Milwaukee faster in a car than I would be taking a plane to OKC.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all shakes out. It's going to be interesting.
And I have heard that they're also trying to get a team into Mexico City. That's going to be a long shot future, but I do like the idea because when I've gone down to Mexico to see my fiance, love you, babe. She eventually we'll see each other. I've noticed they're putting up more hoops around the area. And they're not just like they're like, oh, you have the bounce control rims, so you can't break the rims or the backboard with it. They have like the little like crank where you can lower it and raise it too. They're starting to take it a little bit serious, and especially with Juan Toscano Anderson, who was on Golden State, now is a Laker this year, which I love him because he is very prideful of his Mexican heritage. But Mexico City, it's southern central of it, so I think that could be a little bit of a push because that would be they would have to travel a lot. They would be the new team that would travel.
Right.
And that's not fair. But I mean, Mexico, living the sweet life, drinking those margaritas.
Ooh, I have an
drinking.
interesting tweet from StatMuse. Giannis, averaging 39.1, has quietly overtaken Luka, 37.6, for the
Ooh.
usage rate leader this season, which is crazy because there's nobody else on the Mavs that can create except Luka until yesterday because the Mavs signed Kemba. But
He's
Luka's
back.
He's back. I'm really excited about that
Oh,
news.
yes, he's back.
But like watching the Mavs this season, nobody else can create. So Luka's usage was sky high. So what is going on in Milwaukee? Milwaukee should be a deeper team. I assume they have injuries too.
They
'cause
did.
everybody-
Drew Holiday was out for a bit. Middleton
Yeah.
was out for a bit. So they've been bouncing around with some minor injuries with players, but since it's maybe not be for a long time, but since it's been constant bouncing in and out with stuff, like Grayson Allen got a start the other night. Like,
That's crazy.
no, like I
Also,
just like, yeah.
Also, is he not like the most punchable person in the NBA right now?
Dude,
Can we agree
yeah.
on that?
Yeah. Oh my word.
Like every time I see him, I'm just like, man, how does that guy not get punched all the
I
time?
hated him at Duke more than I hated Christian Laettner.
Well, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't follow college basketball that way, but I feel like he has a reputation from college of being kind of a dirty player.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Any kind of move you see where he kicks his leg out, learned in college.
Oh yeah.
Anything, he is going to be such an annoying player for years to come because he's going to be in the league for a while because he is so annoying. I'll give it that he's got some pretty lockdown defense, but if you get by him, he's going to trip you.
Yep.
And I've seen that multiple times this year. He's going to trip you. And he doesn't get penalized for it because half the time they don't notice it. Which technically, I guess that is smart basketball if you can get away with that stuff. But at the same time, like, it's also dirty basketball.
But also, like, you know, that goes back to my whole, when is the NBA going to overhaul the officiating thing? But, you know, it's another one of my broken record topics.
I think they should also be held accountable, like, meaning, like, if they get a bad call or something like that, they get fined.
They should.
Maybe not to the obvious extremes of, like, an NBA player, but,
no,
like...
but there should be some repercussions for not doing your job properly.
Like
You
when
know,
you get like when you get the next day thing where they're like, yeah, we messed up the call. Well, that doesn't change the outcome of the game. The team still lost.
No, and like sometimes
we're not changing anything about this.
Especially over the past 3 to 5 years, there have been some really critical missed calls that changed who won games.
Exactly.
Like
just this year, Tyler Hero.
And we look, listen, we get it. We understand that the refs are human. They're not going to get everything right all the time. But as an organization, the NBA should be trying to have the best officiating that they can have, period.
Mm-hmm. There shouldn't be times where you can see like specific records that a team has with a specific ref. I shouldn't be able to see. They get Scott Foster. I think Timberwolves have only won one game while he's officiated the last like 20 games for us. Like, I know some of that's on the team, but at the same time too, like one game out of 20.
Yeah, well, there's a similar numbers with Scott Foster and Chris Paul games. Like the numbers, you cannot justify that it's just the course of, you know, regular meetings that the numbers are so skewed against Chris Paul when Scott Foster officiates him. Like it's crazy.
There's a you can see if after so many times a player plays with a certain ref, you're gonna see those tendencies from the ref. And yeah, Chris Paul's getting the worst of it. But okay, well, getting off of sadness of injuries and everything, how about we get a laugh with Shay she's hosting us our NBA Twitter. Show us what you found this week with tweets.
Are you guys ready?
I want to laugh.
Ready.
Oh, maybe I should set it up.
Let me see the stand-up comedian in you. What'd you find?
I know. Sometimes I'm like, I need to be funnier because people are probably like, why is she a comedian?
Hey, sometimes the quietest ones are the funniest ones.
Okay.
And then you have people that are loud like me, and they're like, shut up.
Oh my God, you would be funny on the stage. But anyway, from SSB Burner, the Lakers effing around in the fourth quarter and found out. And we have
as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. That's why
I thought that was so funny. because
That
they
is so
blew it
funny.
At the last minute, NBA Twitter was discussing it was Russ. It was Dennis Schroeder going in instead of Austin Reeves. It was LeBron waiting for the rebound and not doing anything. The Lakers fandom doesn't like each other. So
No, Lakers fandom is a mess this year.
Oh yeah,
such a mess. I love seeing it.
I've seen pages where they're like, "Come on, we're going through it," and then I got everyone trade AD, get rid of
Trade
LeBron,
everybody. Yeah.
build around Kendrick Nunn. Like,
Yeah, there's
I'm hearing
no
it all.
consensus. There's no consensus among Lakers fans this season.
Like, you can't blame Russ anymore. He's been doing well. He's been playing
Yeah,
well
coming
lately.
off the bench has changed things.
Oh
for him.
yeah, it has. He's hitting the shots that he used to hit.
Mhm.
Last night, he even went 2 for 4 from deep. Which, when you see Russ hitting threes, that's when you know your teams could be in a long night.
Well, that's
And
also
yet
why
they still blew it. Like, you can't waste Russell Westbrook threes, people. Like, have you learned nothing from the beginning of this season? If Russell Westbrook is hitting threes, you better win.
Yeah.
Okay,
for real.
so my next one. Oh my gosh. People make me laugh, but I also had to ask you guys. So from Bull World, I don't know how people can watch KD and think Curry, Giannis, etc. are better. KD is the best player in the world. Discuss.
Well,
I mean,
Like,
it's really hard because, like, when I watch KD play, when I'm not watching KD play, I can completely forget about how good he is.
right.
Whereas with Giannis and Curry, I don't need to be seeing them play to remember. But then when I watch KD play, I'm just like, oh my god, like how he's an incredible I've never been a particular fan of his, but I love basketball. You cannot deny he's an amazing basketball player. I don't know that at this point I could pick any one of them as you know, because they all have such different
where's Luka?
things. And also, that was going to be my next point. Where's Luka? I think if you're going to talk about, if you're going to ask if, like, because it's been kind of a consensus that KD was the best player in the world for a couple seasons. I think it's up to be taken away again. And I think Luka is the most likely player to have that title next.
Well, AD has been also killing it real well lately.
AD's going to be injured.
Yeah, true.
Like, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when will he be injured next.
It is definitely that.
I agree with this sentiment in the fact where some of those players you can't put in a new system and then they'll be successful with. Durant, you can put him in any system and he will thrive. That is my one thing. Like all those players are still going to be phenomenal in their teams. Like, you can't knock that. Giannis is too strong and dominant to not beat. But like, you put him in Houston, I don't know if things are going to be that different, if they're going to be the same for him. We've already seen Kevin Durant play for, like, this Brooklyn Nets team's real rough. He's still
KD.
His game has not changed wherever he went. But it hasn't changed, but it has in the fact where he's kept his game. He's just been able to morph it into whatever offensive scheme it was. I didn't think he was going to be able to work in Golden State. I thought it was too much. I thought it wasn't going to work out. He succeeded and didn't even change his style of play, really.
Yeah.
He's
a walking bucket, man.
And also his defense has gotten better this year.
His defense has gotten better.
He's like or at least for a while, he was top 5 in blocks per game and was like top 5 for a total block. So, like, he's doing it all this year. He's trying his hardest. And it shows, at least statistics.
Yeah. So I'm going to say my final consensus with that tweet is you left out Luka. So how can we take you seriously?
That is the thing. Luka.
Sorry, not sorry.
So
long hair don't care, girl. Long hair don't care.
This next one is a little bit of a two-parter. So,
Ugh.
from Molly Morrison, respect to Pete and Imrata for waiting until John Morant was playing in the Garden to hard launch their relationship. Now, there's a lot of speculation. Again, as someone who like loves pop culture, I die for it. This is like a big thing going on right now because like Pete Davidson, you know, the whole Kim
Ooh.
Kardashian thing. Imrata and her husband, who was a regular at one of my coffee shops and one of the ugliest guys I've ever seen in my life, they divorced. But the baby she had looks just like him. So apologies. But some people are
Hey,
saying that
the
this,
caterpillar turns into a butterfly.
no, exactly. And I mean, I guess if Imrata's your mom, like you have a good chance. So some people are speculating that this is a just like publicity thing, even saying that maybe the Knicks hired them or gave them free tickets to come to help with the Knicks like popularity because we know their season is not going well. But this is my favorite part. So to continue this, hold on, let me get the next one. Oh, I stopped sharing. I didn't hold on.
I didn't
bad
want you to
technology.
share anyways. Just tell me what it is, and I'll put
No.
pictures in my head.
No, it's better. It's better in tweet form in a picture. I promise. I promise.
I will
Picture's
say
worth 1,000 words.
I wouldn't be surprised if at least with Pete Davidson that they gave him tickets because the Knicks have done that before. I mean, the guy's sitting right next to Ben Stiller.
Exactly.
And I'm sure he's probably 3 seats down from tennis legends John McEnroe.
I just couldn't
And then
believe that.
Spike Lee's on the left.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Spike goes to the games as much anymore, just because
Oh yeah,
of
that's
like
right.
Spike Lee. But I just thought it was so funny that Ben Stiller is sitting right next to him, and actually Jordan Sparks is sitting right next to her. So it was just so many celebrities, but they like so many industries crossed over with them sitting sideline at this game with John Morant. Obviously, Memphis dominated the Knicks.
I have a question
So yeah,
for
this
teacher.
is just a crossover episode of all my favorite things.
Question from teacher. For teacher, who is Emirata?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, I have no idea who that is.
You don't know who this is?
No idea.
No idea.
Wait,
No
what?
idea.
Okay,
I love Pete Davidson. That's all I know.
Pretty
Have you-
brunette girl. That's all. That's all I got.
Is she an influencer?
No, she's like a model. She's an actor.
Oh.
Okay, so I mean, actor's like loose. I don't want to say she's like good, but she's definitely a model. She got big because you remember all the controversy around that Robin Thicke music video.
Yeah.
Oh, Blurred Lines?
She
Blurred
was one of the
Lines.
topless girls.
Okay.
So
That's
then-
why I don't know who she is, because I don't
But
pay attention.
Did you watch Gone Girl?
I did.
She plays the mistress.
Okay.
In the second scene of the movie, she can be seen as someone taking a sip of a Coca-Cola in the back of the scene.
But yeah,
Okay.
so like she's like more pop culturally. Oh, bye Jade.
Didn't want her here anyways.
She was like, I'm done with this. But yeah, so that was the end. It was a week.
I did I saw it and like I knew like it was. I did check up her like Instagram page and like I saw like she had like some million followers. So I was like, okay, like she's someone and I'm just out of the loop.
She's known
So-
more for being a model.
Yeah, and especially it also saw I'm like, okay, if it's Pete Davidson, he always gets these ridiculously attractive women to be with him. And I was just like, I wouldn't be surprised if they start seeing each other. The guy is, I think he's personally crazy funny. So
I do too. So anyway, it was a week, W-E-A-K, week, W-E-E-K on NBA Twitter because they're
Hey,
like
babe.
you guys said, it wasn't like a lot of drama going on. Like
I want to point out though for that game, it was a close game and okay, it was a close game and John Morant went up for a shot and the layup he went for was a 360 layup between two people, which he got blocked. Luckily enough, he was able to get the ball real quick and tip it back in, and they won the game. But I was like, he got so lucky just so he could be fancy at the Garden. which, I mean, he did everything else well. He got a triple-double at the Garden right in front of his dad.
That's huge.
No knock to that. But no knock on that just because, I mean,
Jade just said my internet went wonky. Might be StreamYard though, because everything else is working.
okay. Well, how about then, since we got a little bit issue with Jade, we just hop to the fast break. Unless, do you want to?
I'm fine with that. I'll let her know just in case.
Yeah, we're just gonna. We were gonna talk about Boston, like I said. But not gonna like I said, slow week. I'm sure we're gonna get back to them again.
I have a feeling they'll be relevant.
They're gonna be back. They're gonna be getting Robert Williams III coming up soon. I'm not worried about, like, they can only pretty much get better with him going to be there. Only thing I got worried about for them is Milwaukee has the same. Hey, maybe she's here, but and then just a quick Shay. So Boston's top seed right now overall in the entire league. Tatum's been the leader. Should he be in MVP talks, or since Boston's just doing well as a team?
I personally think he should.
Okay. That was something I was thinking about, but I was just like, well, this is a real team situation with it all. So
but I do think yeah. I don't like saying that necessarily, but yeah.
Okay, well, we'll just hop to the fast break where I have 3 questions for usually Shay and Jade, but right now it's just Shay. 3 questions they have no knowledge of, and see what they can guess for me. Okay, first one. Who has the most 30-point games this year? I will give you 2 hints. It's in the West Coast, and it's a non-playoff contending team. So non-playoff teams right now, you have Houston, you have OKC, you have I guess the Timberwolves, because we're not in there right now. Who else?
Let me look. I'm looking at the.
And there's like one other team I'm blanking out on right now. But I think that, all right.
Would it be?
And I will say, it's a player you love. West Coast, non-playoff contending team, one of your favorite players.
I want to say it's SGA.
Bam.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been watching like the way he's been putting up he's putting up good stuff.
Specifically 15. He's got the most. So it's 15. I think Luka has 14 or 13 coming up right close. Okay. Which 2 current NBA players have 0 technicals and 0 ejections in their entire career?
0 technicals, 0 ejections?
0 technicals, 0 ejections.
That's a thing? Someone has done that? Oh my gosh.
Hints? Do you want some hints?
Yeah, I'm going to need a hint. I'm like, I don't know who's that goody 2 shoes.
Okay. One of the players is what is considered a Memphis Grizzlies great, but does not play there anymore. And then another one, let's see, I can't remember. Let me see what team he's on. And he is he is on the Raptors, and he is a junior. So there's going to be a blank senior and a blank junior. So think of players with junior.
Oh my gosh. I wish Jade was here to talk about the junior on the Raptors. I'm trying to think of who used to play for Memphis and now doesn't.
And it's a veteran player. Like, been in the league for over 10 years.
Would it be?
He's your favorite player's favorite point guard.
I don't know.
So, first one with Toronto Jr., Otto Porter Jr. I know that was a tough
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, Otto Porter Jr. And the first one, Mike Connolly.
I almost said that.
Never,
I swear.
I never had one. And we're going to continue on. Okay, and then so third question: what do Draymond Green, Manu Ginobili, and Nikola Jokic, and then Isaiah Thomas, not the Hall of Famer, but the one that just played this past
The
decade,
one, right?
what do they all have in common?
Their moms all have the same name.
Draymond Green, Ginobili, Jokic, going all over the
I
world.
don't know. I literally was like, I have no idea. They all have the same amount of technicals.
They're all drafted out of the second round.
Oh.
Jokic was one of the last pick. Ginobili was
forgot.
47th. Draymond was 32nd, I think it was. I was also gonna throw in for this one Marc Gasol too, but then I thought he was also a second rounder. He was actually like a stock player for the
Yeah.
Lakers, where they actually ended up trading Marc Gasol for Pau Gasol.
Right.
Yeah, which I love that trade so much. A trade that everyone benefited from. Granted, Grizzlies, it took a little bit longer time, but Lakers got it. I mean, since we could kill maybe a split second more time. Fourth question: who has more technicals, Charles Barkley or Rasheed Wallace?
I gotta go Barkley.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right.
He's got 329 technicals. Rasheed has 317.
Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah. But the most was Karl Malone with 332. I will say though, she does have the record for most ejections with 26. So I want to see, okay, you take I'm curious how many of those ejections are from two technicals,
Right.
or how many of them are just like the refs, like, I'm tired with you tonight, Sheed. I'm tired of you. Get out of here. I'm curious how many were like that. Well, I mean, minus having all these bugs towards the end, I think we got ourselves a pretty meaty episode right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, if we got that Boston thing in, I think we would have gotten people falling asleep on us. So we don't want that, but
I'm sure they'll come back up.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, everyone will come back. I mean, you guys will see it on the YouTube stream. But all right, well, then I guess just to wrap it up today, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Hardcourt Honeys. On Instagram, you got Hardcourt Honeys, all one word. And on Twitter, you got HC Honeys. So don't forget to also follow Shay at Shay Watches NBA, and me at TJ Rebound, and then Jade at Auxiliary Things. Don't forget to follow us all on that. And on that note, sayonara, mi amigos.
Bye.
Da-da.